All right, so I did it. I figured out what those two guns were that were reportedly taken from the suspects that were arrested in connection to the Christmas Day power station attacks in Washington. They attacked 4 substations that took power out for over 15,000 customers and did up to $3 million worth of damage that's going to take over 36 months to repair. So this was kind of a big deal, and there was a lot of attention being paid here, especially with the current uptick in power station and infrastructure type attacks. And when I saw these guns, I was like, what the crap are those? What are we actually looking at right now? And it piqued my interest, and I wanted to really figure out what they were. Like, what type of guns are these actually, and are they even capable of doing some of the stuff that they're being associated with? But there's more to this story than meets the eye, and I think you need to understand why this actually matters. The guns are interesting in the sense of what they did to these things and what they used to be, but what's really interesting is why this whole gun situation surrounding this scenario matters a lot more than you think. But first, I want to mention the biggest supporter of the channel, which is Midway USA. Midway USA is making it possible for me to have access to gear and equipment that I can check out and review and show everybody, and I have to maintain a level of honesty. That's literally what I'm obligated to do. So I don't have to say it's good, I don't have to say it's bad, I just get to present it to you all as possible preparedness options. So a big thank you to Midway USA. Now, these guns are atrocious, and nobody should try to recreate these things at home. But let's talk about what they are really quickly, and then we'll get into all the nitty-gritty of the whole situation, right? So the gun on the left is a Remington Model 12. Now, this gun is chambered in .22 long rifle, and it was made back in 1909. This is a pump-action .22 long rifle. It has a giantly broken, bent-out leaf spring rear sight, which was kind of the dead giveaway for me as to which model this was once I figured it out. It has the mag tube possibly cut down or maybe even capped off. It's possible they are using this thing as almost like a single shot because of trying to make it quieter with their duct tape special suppressor that it seems like they crafted and stuck on the end of the barrel. Now, after looking at some of the indicating marks and everything else on the firearm, I have deducted that this is a Remington Model 12, but this is just my opinion. So if you think I'm wrong or you have a better idea as to what that gun is, let me know in the comments below. Now, the gun on the right was a little more obvious. The gun on the right is a JC Higgins 583, and I think it's probably a 20 gauge, but it might be a 12 gauge. I mean, let me know what you think, but basically this is a Sears and Roebuck Model 10, and these were manufactured back in 1946. So you can see that they chopped the stocks off of these guns, they wrapped them in tape, they did all kinds of terrible things, and I'm pretty sure we're living real life Fallout 4 at this point. But what does it matter? Why does it matter what these guns were? Well, first off, these are your meth head specials, right? These are guns that are literally trash and, you know, back in their heyday were nice firearms, I'm sure, but have been treated horribly and are now exactly what you're seeing in this image. But here's the thing. These guns weren't even used in the attacks. In fact, they're one of the center points for the news articles reporting about the attacks, but they weren't even used. They were just arrested in conjunction with a search warrant where the police searched the trailer that these two guys supposedly lived in together and found these illegal firearms. And here's where things need to be really paid attention to, okay? Because the attacks, they were done by cutting the power or tampering with the power by messing with the disconnector switches and breakers. They were basically flipping switches to supposedly cut the power to the entire area in order to conduct a robbery, which would result in them breaking into a cash register. The problem is that with the reporting about these guns being an unregistered short-barreled rifle or an unregistered short-barrel shotgun, whereas I almost think they look more like AOWs to me, but I mean, you let me know. Either way, the focus is being put on these guns, and the guns weren't even used in the attack. So you can see why this is problematic, especially the fact that they had a homemade silencer involved. All these things are NFA regulated items, and they're all things that the ATF has been targeting lately. And we also know that the ATF even pulled back on their pistol brace rule to release it at a later time. And if you really start to look at the way this whole thing is developing, it's starting to almost look like when you're developing a case against somebody, you need to make sure you have all the evidence first as to why these things need to occur, right? Why there needs to be some kind of conviction. And here we are in the situation where Moore County was supposedly attacked in their infrastructure with high-powered rifle rounds from a distance or whatever it was, but they haven't caught anybody in conjunction with that attack, and they don't really know anything further than just the speculation and the fact that these devices were damaged from high-powered projectiles. So here's something you might not know. On January 4th, Wednesday, right, a guy drove his car through a gate at a solar plant outside of Las Vegas. Drove his car in, lit it on fire, sat in a chair for 15 minutes and watched it burn, and then casually left. And his statement was that he was basically trying to burn a Tesla solar plant for the future in order to protect everybody in the future, right? Now, of course, that's being investigated as related to terrorism and everything else, but why is there so much weight being put onto this other story and the guns involved with it, which weren't involved, whereas nobody's even talking about what happened on January 4th, which is pretty legitimately more explosive in the sense of a car ramming through a gate and then being lit on fire. So understand that there's always more to the equation. Our power grid is extremely vulnerable. We could be taken out in the sense of our power usage at any point in time from very, very rudimentary attacks. I mean, these guys literally cut the fence, went in, and tried to mess with the breaker switches, is basically what happened. That's it. That's ridiculous, right? But that's how fragile our system is. And understand you have these other extremists that are driving cars right through gates and lighting them on fire. So this stuff can happen no matter what. But they also are using the information put out by these attacks to develop a case as to why the things that these people have access to might be problematic. And that's why this case that involved a car and lighting it on fire is probably not going to get the same attention as this other case where the guys who were arrested happened to have a legal non-registered short barrel rifle and short barreled shotgun that now makes the headlines, especially because they used a homemade silencer. You understand where this is going? I think we are all on the same page here. So I just wanted to bring this information to the forefront, let you know about what those guns were, because I thought that was interesting. And then the more I looked into it, the more I got concerned about the real reason why these guns were even being shown in the first place.